Ladies and gentlemen, are you tired of constantly banging the table because of a stupid mistake you made and then you lose the game? I know that really affects your aura. That's why I have come up with this instructive game of how bad pawn structures leads you to losing position. The game starts e4, e5. We have the Scotch opening, and then white decided to trade the knight. Now the main reason why black has adopted this structure of connected double pawns and an isolated a7 pawn is because he wants to get compensation via the b file. He wants to put the rook on the b file, which will immediately start putting pressure on white's position without ever needing these pieces to come out at first. So that's fine. Now the next 5 moves are just pure development. Black declines the trade and both sides castle. Now white plays knight b3. Since black has adopted this structure, he should try to develop as quickly as possible, but instead he takes on b3, and this is what I call an inaccuracy, because white now takes with the a pawn, and the sleeping rook has just turned into an active monster. Now what initially black planned for this structure was to put the rook on the b file. Now he just cannot do that because of 2 reasons. First, there is no target on the b file, and secondly, bang, I just grab your free pawn. So black just lost his pawn for nothing. Now this is a huge problem. This rook might stay out of the game for the entirety of it, and that might be a very problematic situation for black. So let's see how black continued. Black played d5, white took en passant, and if you apply some logic to it, you know that taking with the c-pawn is a bit better. Yes, you do have the weakness on that a7, but at least you fixate your structure. Your center is intact. But instead, I don't know for what reason, what was black thinking, he decided to take with the bishop. And this is the reason why you lose games. Probably he was like thinking, oh my god, my bishop is slicing over here, my queen's coming in, and I'm going to checkmate the white king and win the game. Listen, white is also playing moves, and you also have to consider white's ideas as well. See, the reason why I said you lose games is because you have already created 3 weaknesses. Look at this, the double pawns are not even connected. They're completely isolated with that isolated a7 pawn. Now what is going to happen in the long term is that white's pieces, once they start coming out, it's going to be much more easier to play with the white pieces because of the weaknesses on the queen side that black has. Meanwhile, I can barely see any weaknesses for white in the position. So white's play is definitely going to get easier and easier. Meanwhile, black's weaknesses are going to create the main problem for him. Anyways, now let's look how white actually went on to punish this. First, he played rook a4, taking care over the threat of queen h4, which had the potential to go for checkmate. Black develops the bishop. White offers to trade. Black accepts. And by the way, more and more trade works in white's favor. As more and more pieces disappear, these weaknesses are going to be much more vulnerable, and that is what white wants. That is why I suggest that you should often avoid such kind of structures if you don't have a clear plan about what to do or how you will seize advantage in the long term. Otherwise, you're just digging your own grave. So queen to f6, very nice prophylactic move, completely immobilizing this bishop and also stopping future queen to h4 threats. So rook to e8, white develops the king, bishop c5, and from this point onwards, here white just completely takes over the game like an old master. Rook c4. It is logical to go after these weaknesses after you have developed. c5. Queen to f3. White develops the bishop. Goes after the weakness on a7. Rook f to d8. And again, very important. White could take, but he knows the importance of activity, and that's why he first activates his pieces. Now this is attacked, and also that is attacked. Now queen to e5. Black re-attacks white's pawn, and now this is a golden tip. Do not hurry when you know you're winning. Obviously, you do not want to give up this good b2 pawn for that weak a7 pawn. There's always time to capture back material. That's why white plays rook c3 for securing everything. Rook 8, but now rook a5, completely immobilizing the black's pieces. And at this moment, black was probably like very frustrated, and that's why he offered to trade queens. This works in our favor, but it also works bishop takes c5. Queen takes f3, the queens gets traded off. And here we have a series of exchange. Takes, and after the dust settles down, it is white who remains up a pawn. He has 2-1 advantage on the queen side. His winning plan is very simple. He has more than one winning plan. He can try to push these pawns and then promote the pawn for this bishop. And yeah, he'll just be up the bishop and he'll just be completely winning in the position. Plus, if you notice, the position of the white king is much more better than the position of the black king. That means the white king is much more active than the black king. So it should be winning for white in almost every line. That's why I will just fast forward the game from this point onwards to show you that how white actually converted the position. First, black starts bringing the king. White does the same. King to e6, d4, c6. White offers trade. Now remember, black cannot trade, otherwise this is just too easy for white to win this. So black declines. White offers again, black declines again. King c4, king d7. And in this position after c3, black resigned because the bishop is trapped. It can only go to a1. But then king b3, king a6, bishop d4. This central formation takes place and king a2 just traps the bishop, completely winning for white. Now all this happened because of the pawn structure that he had chosen on move 12. Sometimes you wonder that where you made the mistake, you're not able to figure out. That is because of the bad structures you choose to play, which makes the game much more harder, and then you lose.